So that is a wrap on the UFC for 2022, and it was a great year. We had a lot of awesome moments, and now we have a 3-week period of no UFC, which is just like, that's a long break. I'm going to have awesome content coming to this channel in that time span. I have some cool ideas for videos. Today we're going to be looking at some of the best moments of 2022. I just made a list full of awesome knockouts, awesome fights, awesome fighters, and just highlight real moments for the year. We're going to start off talking about Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza, one of the greatest title fights of all time. No, that fight was really, really bad, and if I was making the worst moments of UFC 2022 list, that would be at the very top of it. But we're going to move on and go to Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane. What a banger of a fight. There was a storyline here. They used to train together. They used to be buds, and now there was a little bit of bad blood. Francis Ngannou, he knocked out Stipe Miocic. He became the heavyweight king. He was a scary dude that no one wants to fight. And then Ciryl Gane is just this new guy. He had under 10 fights in MMA in general, and he looked so well-rounded. He looked so good. His striking was electric, and he was putting it on Francis in that fight. And Francis had to dig deep, and he had to switch up his game plan. He had to wrestle. And he wrestled away, and he got a victory, and he got out of a UFC contract, or it seems like he might. We don't know if he's going to fight in the UFC again. I hope he does, because I want to see John Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Moving on, we have Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns. What a fight this was. Khamzat Chimaev is probably the biggest hype train of 2022, and I think he will continue to be the biggest hype train of 2023. He's a beast. Before this fight, he'd been punched, I think, twice in 3 or 4 fights or something crazy like that. So going into a guy like Gilbert Burns was going to be his biggest test, and it absolutely delivered. This fight was just super fun. We saw both guys getting wobbled. We got to see a little bit of ground action, and we got to see Khamzat Chimaev finally tested, and these guys were just... They both performed. It was an absolute barn burner. It was 3 rounds of hell, and I wish we got 5 because these guys were going at it. We have Michael Chandler knocking out Tony Ferguson. This is a Tony Ferguson we're not used to seeing, right? And he's on this list again, not for great reasons, but I love Tony Ferguson. He's the man. In his heyday, he was an absolute savage, and I still think there are wins out there for him, but I think his time is starting to come to an end. He looked really, really good in the first round against Michael Chandler. He had dropped him. He was landing some elbows. He had Chandler hurt. And in the second round, the narrative completely changed with just a kick straight up the middle, a front kick from Michael Chandler that just completely knocked out Tony Ferguson. One of the greatest knockouts in UFC history. That was insane. There's only been a handful of front kick knockouts. That may have been the prettiest one. It's up there with some of those Anderson Silva ones. We have Glover Teixeira versus Jiri Prochazka for the belt. That light heavyweight division is a mess right now. But remember the good old days, early on in the year when we had Glover Teixeira winning the belt, and then you have him defending against Jiri Prochazka this year, and that fight was an absolute banger. That fight I thought was going to be short. I thought it was going to be a 1-minute fight. I thought Jiri was going to knock him out, take the belt, and win. You saw Glover, the old man. He was getting it done. He lost in the final 5th round, and he got submitted, and I think he was just too tired. But now Jiri, he was the champion. He had to vacate due to an injury. The light heavyweight division is a complete mess right now, but that was a fun-ass fight. I have Alex Pereira. Just Alex Pereira. That's a highlight of UFC in 2022 alone. Alex Pereira had some fantastic performances. He knocked out Sean Strickland, and I guess his next performance wasn't fantastic, but it ended in a spectacular fashion. You had him losing on the scorecards to Israel Adesanya for the title, a guy he's beaten twice in kickboxing. In the 5th and final round, he got the champ and pound-for-pound best out of there, and he is now your middleweight champion of the world. Absolutely insane, the story this guy's had. He's still so fresh and young in MMA, and he looks really, really good. He's already one of the elite middleweights, and I'm looking forward to the rematch with Adesanya because I think Adesanya deserves it. I know he's beaten him 3 times now. I still think Adesanya has something to say about this, so I'm excited to see that potential rematch in 2023. This next one is going to hurt to say. I'm the biggest Max Holloway fan out there. I love the dude. But Alexander Volkanovski proved this year that he was the very best featherweight on the planet. He fought the Korean Zombie, and he didn't lose a second in that fight. He was in complete control of that fight. He won. He looked really good. And then he had the test of taking on Max Holloway for a third time. And at this point, I think people thought Max Holloway was the best featherweight on the planet. I think a lot of people thinks that Max Holloway won that second fight. I'm one of those people. I thought Max Holloway edged it out. The first one was close. Everyone can agree Volkanovski won that. In the third one, Volkanovski put a stamp on that victory. He won every second of that fight. It wasn't close. He hurt Max Holloway, and in return, he hurt me. So, congrats, Alexander Volkanovski. You hurt my feelings. Leon Edwards is Rocky Balboa. He took on Kamaru Usman. This was a rematch. It was a rematch he wanted. It was for the title. Everyone had Kamaru Usman winning this. Everyone considers... I consider Kamaru Usman to be the best fighter on the planet right now. It's either him or Izzy in my eyes. And I know neither of those two guys are champions right now. But Kamaru Usman, his wrestling's insane. His striking got crazy good out of nowheres. He's powerful. He's there all night long. And he was winning against Leon Edwards until he wasn't. He ate a head kick from hell. Lost in the final minute of the fight. Leon Edwards is your welterweight champion of the world. Just an insane night there. I was watching it in a car ride. I was on a car ride coming back from a Bill Burr stand-up performance, and I saw that, and I was losing my goddamn mind. Insane. Also on that card, you had a funny moment. You had Luke Rockhold taking on Paulo Costa. Luke Rockhold was showing his age here, but he was also showing that he can take a punch, which we haven't seen from Luke Rockhold too much, and he showed that he can have some gutsy-ass performances. This was a fun one, and towards the end of this fight, you had Luke Rockhold completely covered in blood, just shoving his chin into Paulo Costa and just covering Paulo Costa in blood. A weird moment, a hilarious moment, a very UFC moment. Cyril Gane wanted to bounce back from his loss to Francis Ngannou, and he took on fan favorite Tai Tuivasa, who everyone wanted to see win, get a knockout, and do a shoey, but everyone knew deep down Tai was going to lose this fight. I was one of those guys where I gave Tai no respect. I was like, Tai's getting pieced up. Cyril Gane is too good a striker. He's way too well-rounded. Tai's not even gonna hit Cyril Gane. And Tai hurt Cyril Gane really bad in this fight. It ended up being a super, super entertaining performance that saw Cyril Gane getting a victory. Just a banger. Bangers all around in 2022, guys. These were fun fights, and I was really impressed with Tai Tuivasa. Too bad that he took an L shortly after that in his next fight, but Gane versus Tuivasa is a fight that's going to stick in my mind for a while now. All right. After that, we had some weird mismatches and some weird schedule changes and opponent changes. There was a card that saw Nate Diaz fighting Khamzat Chimaev, and on the undercard you had Tony Ferguson taking on the Leech, and then Kevin Holland was fighting Daniel Rodriguez. After Khamzat Chimaev missed weight and people being complete ballers and agreeing to fight changing opponents at the last second, you had Nate Diaz fighting Tony Ferguson, and then you had Khamzat Chimaev fighting poor Kevin Holland. This ended up delivering. They were better matchups. And it's also a scenario of Nate Diaz getting out of his UFC contract. I hope to see him back in the octagon, but he should go make that money. Nate Diaz he beat up an old Tony Ferguson and just looked way better than him. Although Tony Ferguson's leg kicks were doing damage, but in the co-main you had Khamzat Chimaev, and he did what he does. He went right after Kevin Holland. He submitted him very, very quickly. It was not even a fight. It was just a one-sided beatdown, and Khamzat Chimaev was swinging the hammer. You also had the fake high five there. Interesting. Also, this year in 2022, we saw Islam Makhachev take on Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira was the goddamn boogeyman. Everyone was giving him a lot of credit. I know he was the underdog in that fight, but he was a guy who's been in the promotion for so long, and then he just went on a complete tear. He beat Tony Ferguson. He beat Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje. He was beating the dudes, but Khabib 2.0, Islam Makhachev was there, and he made it look easy, and he is the man right now. I think he's a pound-for-pound great already. And I'm excited to see him defend that belt because I think we have the chance for just a crazy legacy. The guy who, is best buds, has been training with Khabib. He has the belt. He's in the toughest division in the sport. He's got a lot of hype behind him. The Russians love him. The Americans want to see him lose. But he is just an absolute beast of a fighter. So I'm looking forward to seeing what 2023 has in store for Islam Makhachev. That same night, we saw Sean O'Malley beat Petr Yan, and I know a lot of you are probably saying, no, it's a robbery. I thought Petr Yan won the fight, but with that being said, Sean O'Malley is legit, and I thought he did good in that fight. I thought he proved to be one of the greatest fighters in the bantamweight division as of right now. He took on the number 1 fighter. He was ranked somewheres between number 10 and number 15 in the bantamweight rankings. And he snuck away with the W. And Petr Yan is probably crying, thinking about that right now, probably just cringing. But Sean O'Malley is in a great position, and it's not every day in the UFC you see a star with the caliber of Sean O'Malley actually make it this high up the top 15 ranks. I mean, Paddy Pimblett, we can see kind of where he's at in his development as of right now. Sean O'Malley's looking really, really good, and he's proving a lot of critics wrong, whether or not you think that was his fight to win or not. All right, I got one more thing on this list, and it is Dustin Poirier beating Michael Chandler. What a fight this was. This fight made so much sense. Dustin Poirier never has an easy fight. It's always bangers. Look at his resume. It's actually insane how many fights he gets completely shellacked and then ends up winning. And this is another example of that. He was really hurt in that first round. I did think that he won that first round, but he had to take some swings on the chin. Second round, he got dominated. Michael Chandler wrestled him, and Poirier had nothing for him. Third round, he gets the submission victory, gets the W. Very close fight, very entertaining fight, and a very entertaining year of fights and press conferences and moments and just interactions in 2022 for the UFC. It was a great year to be a fight fan. A lot of great stuff happened, and not a ton of star power. You didn't see Conor McGregor fight. You saw Nate Diaz fight, but I'm interested to see what 2023 has in store. I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. The UFC always brings an awesome product, so this 3-week break is going to be nice to kind of chill out, think about fighting a little bit less for all of us, and then we hop right back into it because we got a light heavyweight title fight coming up in late January. And then you also have, what's the next fight back? I think it's Kelvin Gastelum versus Imavov. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, those are my favorite moments of 2022 for the UFC. Let me know if you have any that I missed. Put those in the comment section below. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.